All right. Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday and happy good morning, I should say, not happy, good morning. 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Today's July 23rd. We are hosting our monthly Silo Tank event. And this month, we're really excited to have SkillPool in the house. And SkillPool for us is a really interesting pitch because of a couple of reasons, I think. Number one is we've seen a lot of ATSs come into, I guess, our ecosystem and folks, wanting to pitch in Silo. And we haven't seen anything yet that we felt was like more than just a feature, right? And we know who the big incumbents are in this space, and we know the folks that are doing really well. And for us, when we're thinking about who we want to see and what tools we want to see, our desire is to see tools that could potentially be a next generation experience for either recruiters or for candidates or whoever it may be. So we somehow, I don't remember how, but we got into contact with Sumel. Sumel, I believe you're like 21 years old. You're a sophomore in college, if I'm not mistaken, studying computer science. And Mike and I joked the first time when we met Sumel, we said, what went horribly wrong in your life that at 21 years old, you're trying to build an ATS? Like, what the heck? Yeah, I didn't understand it. But for some reason, Sumel's very passionate about this space. And he's built, in our opinion, a very interesting tool that's AI first. And I think that's where things for us got interesting. All the other ATSs out there, even the ones that are winning right now, weren't built when OpenAI basically revolutionized the AI space, right? So these are all, I hope to not offend anyone, but this is all kind of archaic technology, and Sumel is now building on top of new tech, but this is the nature of technology. So without further ado, Sumel, I'm going to hand on over the reins to you. Feel free to share your screen at the earliest convenience. And let me just make sure you have ability to do that. Sumel, sorry, participants.
No, I think I can share the screen.
Can you?
I'll just check.
Go ahead. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Sumel, the floor is yours.
All right. So I mean, thank you so much for that great introduction. Uh, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about, I guess, how I came around to doing this, because considering you did talk about it, what went so wrong in my life. I'll keep it short, around like 2 minutes. I'm not going to bore you. And then I'll start talking about how exactly the software works and why I think it's going to be the next gen ATS. So, I mean, being a college student currently myself, I've applied to a ton of jobs, ton of internships. And one thing I've noticed throughout all of that is that the process tends to take time on the candidate side as well, right? I mean, you apply, you wait a few weeks, sometimes you wait days, sometimes you wait weeks, you get a response. And because of that, the process just seems kind of slow. Now, I originally didn't know why exactly this was happening. I mean, I just thought, oh no, why isn't the company doing their job? Why aren't they, talking to the candidates more? But I learned about this in a very funny way, actually. My dad was creating his own company, and within hours of posting a job, he received hundreds of applicants. So I mean, that's the first time I realized, okay, this space, this whole situation, it's kind of really problematic on both sides. And that got me really interested into it, and I started looking into different kinds of ATSs, how exactly recruitment works. And this was around 1.5 years ago. So since then, I first created a very kind of easy product, which just told a score between a candidate and a job description. And a few people started using that, and it was very similar to how other companies and how the other ATSs have implemented AI now. But the main problem I found with that, and the main thing that everybody was telling me, is that that score has no aspect of actual reasoning or actual justification to it, which is why employers couldn't use it. I mean, imagine seeing that a candidate has a 70% match rate with a particular job, but having no idea why that 70% exists or what that 70% even means. That's not a score you can use. And to try to fix this and to try to create a kind of score with reasoning to it, that's, quite honestly speaking, not something that regular AI models can do, just because AI is such a black box. So to do that, I had to essentially create my own AI system using a multitude of actual models and combine that to create a score. And I think that's where I'm going to get started and talk about exactly what's unique about SkillPool. So obviously we've got a ton of AI features and AI powered features built in, as well as being an end-to-end recruitment system ourselves. But personally, the real feature, the real thing that I find most um, unique or best about SkillPool is just the fact that every single score that we give, whenever a candidate comes into a particular job or applies to a particular job, we analyze that candidate automatically and give a certain score to that candidate. Now, that score is fully broken down into many, many different categories. That includes education, work experience, technical skills, and if you include it, even soft skills and personality fit. And every single one of those scores is further justified. Now, of course, I'm going to show you this in practice. So let's just directly jump into that. So if you can still see my, can you still see my screen? Or was it limited to that page?
We
You
can
can see your
see.
screen.
Lovely. So this is the software. This is what it looks like. Obviously, the main thing I want to show you right now is just how exactly you see each candidate and each candidate score and how you see their justification. But just to provide you a bit of context before doing that, I'll take you through how you can create a job and how you can influence the score in when you're creating this job. So let's say if I'm just looking for a standard software developer, another thing we have here, I've kind of got to mention, is that you can automatically get AI to write you a job description. And this takes in information from your setting, from your company name and description, and automatically writes it out for you. Obviously, then you can edit this, make it more to your liking, and essentially make it as best as you can. For now, I'm just going to keep it like this. This is more so just to show you just some standard information about the job here. And this is what is, I guess, the core of SkillPool. This is what ends up determining that score. So you get to set your exact ideal candidate profile and write down exactly what you're looking for in each candidate. So you can weigh their education. You can see exactly what's measuring here. You can weigh their work history, exactly how important every aspect of this is to you. And most importantly, you can decide exactly which technical skills you're looking for. So there's no drop down, there's no limit here. It's pretty much limited by your imagination, really. So let's say if I'm looking for Python, or this is software development. So what if I just look for software development as a whole? And the AI will automatically find it for you. Now, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into how this works, because I know a few of you will be worried, okay, what if this is just doing keyword matching, right? What if it's just looking through the resume and seeing how many times the candidate mentioned Python? But that's not really I guess, that's kind of misrepresenting the candidate in the first place, which is why keyword matching doesn't work. So instead, what we do is the AI system automatically looks through every single experience the candidate has and identifies exactly how much each skill was used. So I'll just show you that in practice here. If, let's say, this is an example, you can look through, you can see exactly which experiences the candidate has had and exactly how they utilize one particular skill in that experience. Again, this is just an example. I'll show you the real thing in just around 2 minutes. Along with technical skills, you can also set soft skills and personality traits. Now, the way these work is we host an automatic screening interview with every single candidate the moment they apply. You can turn that off if you don't want to have a AI interview. But I mean, otherwise, if you keep it on, it's a 10-minute real-time interview with an artificial intelligence model, which can automatically identify the candidate's soft skills and personality traits. So in this case, let's say if I'm looking for problem-solving skills, critical thinking, and I don't know, creativity. I kind of misspelled that. Creativity. You can determine how important each of these is to you, and then do the same thing for personality traits. Again, it's pretty much limited by whatever you can think of and whatever you want to write. By the way, I kind of didn't mention this at the beginning. If any of you have any questions at any point, feel free to just add it in the chat or, I mean, interrupt me. That's completely fine. If you want to just get something clarified immediately. But yeah, let's say if I'm also looking for something like open-mindedness within a candidate. So that's how you would, I guess, that's how you would create your ideal candidate profile. And that's how the model knows what to create and what to score them on. I'm just going to add one more stage here just to show you. And this is how a manual regular interview would work. So you get to set a duration, set the number of interviewers, so this takes it from your team, and you can add any kind of potential interviewers here. So the way this part works is our system allows candidates to schedule their own interviews. So we look through your possible interviewers, we identify how many of them there have to be, and based on whoever has the best availability for that time, we assign them the interview. And the way you get feedback from any interview is you get to create your own feedback form. You get to create questions and decide exactly what you want to ask the interviewer after the interview is done. So in this case, I'm just going to use something that I've already created. And after the interview is over, the interviewer will essentially get these questions here, and they'll be able to answer it immediately about the candidate, and you get to see that. So let's say try to identify if the candidate is a good fit. But okay, that's I guess enough about creating a job. I'm just going to go ahead and show you exactly what the candidate process looks like, or exactly how you can see what the candidates look like. I had actually created this very same job previously, so you can see it right here, and you can see that I had already gotten some demo applicants to apply. So here, this is my own profile here, and I'm just going to take you through this and take you through exactly how we give every score. So you can see that the score has been broken down into education, work experience, technical skills, soft skills, and personality fit. And every single one of these scores can then be further seen and further broken down into to identify exactly why this 45 has been given. So I received a 0 score for GPA because I haven't mentioned it in my resume. And I received a 91 score for university because of a high ranking university. And for the work experience, we've graded every single job and every single project. And you can see exactly why every project has a particular score, full justification for that as well. And the same thing for a job. You get to see why. And again, this is one thing that I think really sets SkillPool apart from other kind of players in the AI ATS space, because the ability to get actual justification and actual understanding of these scores is what allows people to actually trust them, which is why you can use them to evaluate candidates as opposed to just getting, oh, there is 70% match, but we don't know why. This is what allows you to know exactly why there's 70% match. For each technical skill, as I showed in the example, you can see that the candidate's experiences have been sorted. And for each one of them, the level of usage for this particular skill has been identified. And for the soft skills, you can see that the specific sentences and specific things that they said in the interview have been taken and shown that, okay, this shows that the candidate has problem solving skills. So this is what will display, this is what will grade the candidate on. And that's how the soft skills as well as the personality fit part work. Finally, I'll just talk a little bit about the interview feedback. So this 100 here is the score is based on how many of the interviewers think that the candidate should have proceeded with the next round. And you can see the responses to the feedback form right here. So that kind of wraps up exactly how the insightful scoring part or the breakdown scoring part for SkillPool works. And this wraps up what a candidate page looks like. I'll take you through one of our next things now. And this is the interview that I was talking about previously. So essentially, as long as you've enabled it, as soon as the candidate applies, they get to take an automatic interview with an AI. It's a very short 10-minute interview where the AI will ask behavioral questions and essentially try to gauge the soft skills and personality fit. Now, I'm going to show a live demo. I'm going to show a live demo of this interview. I'm not going to make it the whole 10 minutes because that'll just be boring. But I'll do it for like 1 or 2 minutes and just show you what it looks like. Let me know if you can hear. Actually, I don't know if I've shared sound. I'll just reshare with sound this time. Okay. All right. I'll have to restart Zoom to share sound. Instead, what I'll do is you can see a transcript of what the interviewer is saying right beneath the icon itself. You'll see what I mean. It does have sound, but I'll have to restart my Zoom to show that. So I really don't think I don't
No
think
worries. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Welcome, Sumil Rathi. It's a pleasure to have you here today for the AI researcher position at SkillPool. Could you please start by telling me a little about yourself and why you're interested in this role?
Hi, sure. So my name is Somil, and I am a computer science student. I've been studying CS for the past 2 years. And on top of that, I've done my own projects in artificial intelligence and machine learning for the past 4 years. I've been taking on different courses and doing my own research projects. That's why I think I'll be a good fit for this role, and that's why I'm interested in applying.
It sounds like you have a strong foundation in computer science and a passion for artificial intelligence and machine learning. Can you tell me about a specific project you worked on that you're particularly proud of and what your role was in that project?
Yeah, sure. So there was this one time where I worked on an AI interviewer, which could automatically hear what the candidate was saying, what any particular candidate was saying, and respond in real time as an interviewer would. That's one of the projects I'm personally very proud of. I was the sole, I guess, project manager, developer for that project, and I ended up creating it, and it ended up being a success. So that's something I'm proud of.
It sounds like you successfully developed an AI interview that could respond in real time, which is quite an impressive achievement. I'd like to dive deeper into your experience with leadership and teamwork. Can you describe a situation where you had to collaborate with others to overcome a technical challenge or obstacle?
Okay, so I'm just gonna stop it here. I mean, this goes on for 10 minutes normally, but that's just gonna waste a lot of the time I have, honestly. So yeah, that's kind of what the screening interview looks like. It's a real-time interview where the AI understands exactly what the candidate is saying, tries to gauge their behavioral skills, their soft skills, and personality based on those 10 minutes. If you have any questions on that front regarding how exactly it scores the personality, I mean, I'll be happy to answer. If not, I'll continue with the presentation. I'll give you like a few minutes.
Syelo, how many traits do you have built out for personality?
So you can input essentially whatever trait you want. Let's say determination, great. There's no built out any number of traits. You can any trait that you can think of, any trait that you want to guess or that you want to get, you can just input it within that area right here. I'll just show you exactly where. So here where you set in the personality traits, just whatever you want to enter, essentially. And the way it scores is it takes the candidate transcript and it breaks it down into those 5 ocean traits. So those are conscientiousness, openness to experience, and there's like 3 more: introversion, neuroticism, stuff like that. And then it correlates that to the trait that you've entered yourself. So, and that way it can get an accurate measure of exactly how well or how poorly the candidate ranks in that particular trait. So for example, I had just previously entered determination, grit, and open-mindedness. And the software was able to automatically determine exactly how much the candidate scored in that, as well as exactly which sentences corresponded to that aspect the most.
Aaron,
Yeah.
jump in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Syelo, this is a fantastic platform you've built. It's really beautiful and you explained it eloquently. I have a question. So in terms of level of skill set, so how, like your interpretation of someone who is an expert level in SQL could be different than my interpretation of someone who is an expert level in SQL. So in future in the future roadmap, are you going to be leveling out the skill sets? And the use case for that would be, right, if you were interviewing an engineering intern versus an engineering manager.
So essentially, the way the scoring system works is it's pretty much an objective metric for dependent. So let's say SQL, right, or SQL. What it does is it looks through how many times or how many experiences the candidate has had that would have used some sort of database management or some sort of experience with SQL. And based on that, it gives like a 0 to 100 score. So let's say if you consider a score of, for a particular job, let's say if you're hiring for an intern, even a score of say 50 in SQL would probably be good. But if you're hiring for like a very senior level engineer, then you'd probably want to look for a higher level score or something related to 80, for example. So since I've tried to create like this level of objective scoring, I think that serves as a way to level out the scoring between between like the intro level as well as the higher level candidates. Is that around what you were intending?
Yeah, that answers my question. I would just say, and to continue to think about how that might evolve in terms of, you know, the leveling of it. But I think it's great, and that it actually is quite helpful. Thank you.
Great. All right. If nobody has further questions, I mean, I can continue with the demo. So let's say
I have one question. So going back to like soft skills that the AI automatically screens. So let's just say I think of like a very nuanced soft skill. I'm looking for someone that is extremely detail oriented, like extremely.
okay.
Does the AI mechanism automatically generate the questions itself to evaluate whether or not the candidate has the soft skills that I'm looking for? So is that onus put on to the AI to basically create intelligent enough questions to derive an actual evaluation and a score on that ability?
Yes, exactly. So that's pretty much exactly how it works. So once you've entered in the skills and the traits that you're looking for, the AI already knows that, and so it essentially bases the questions for that particular job around those skills. So in this case, I had entered in determination, grit, and skills like that. So it tried to, and as well as collaboration, communication, and all. So it tried to identify traits. So it tried to identify and give questions related to those skills. But if you entered in a trait such as extremely detail oriented, it would have based those questions around that detail orientation as well as the other skills and traits that you'd put in. So it knows that, and it intelligently gives out the questions based on that those traits.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Does I guess the candidate has to be very specific almost in their resume in order to hit, I guess, the traits that you're looking for, right? I guess, how does it bypass, or how does it know, like, everybody's using ChatGPT right now, right? They'll take a job description, rewrite their resume built on that. Like, how does it bypass that?
So actually, I'd like to point out the candidate doesn't actually have to be very specific in order to get these traits. So for example, I had looked for the trait JavaScript, right? What it does is, since it's going through every experience and identifying how well that skill would have been used. Let's say if I had input that I was working on a web application. In fact, this is actually exactly what I've done in my resume. I haven't listed the word JavaScript anywhere, but I've listed that I've worked on a web application. I've listed that I've created apps, and the system can automatically identify that since JavaScript is typically well used within web apps, it must have the candidate must have used JavaScript or must have some skills within JavaScript. So that's one of the ways that I've tried to get around just plain keyword searching within each experience. Because of course, the majority of candidates aren't going to sit there and list out every single skill and every single I guess, particular thing or technology that they used in a job, and they just list what they did. So that's how I would get around that essentially.
Smart.
All right. So as an ATS, currently we don't have any version to do any external sourcing, let's say from LinkedIn. That's definitely a very, primary feature on our roadmap from going on. But right now, the way sourcing works here is as soon as a candidate applies to any of your jobs, essentially, they get put in this candidate table, and this is across all jobs. And what you can do is the moment you've created any new job, you can look through all of these candidates and almost instantly, really quickly, just find any candidates who applied to a past job who would be a good fit for a future job. So let's say here, AI researcher was a job I created just today, and you can automatically identify that, okay, here are a few candidates who are really well suited for this new job, and as well as what job they had applied to previously. So for example, here it says that I would be a good fit to be an AI researcher here. And what you can then do is you can automatically ask that candidate to apply to this new job. And that's that. That's how simple it would be to find any kind of hidden talent or anybody who applied for a job that they weren't perfectly a good fit for. So that's another thing that's possible because of the way we segment the scores and because of the way we've divided scores into these 5 categories. We can easily find any new candidates and any new fits that arise with new jobs. Beyond that, another thing that another way that we've implemented AI and incorporated directly within the ATS is directly to candidate outreach. So if you remember, I kind of went, or maybe I didn't. Essentially, as candidates apply, very often, they don't tend to receive feedback within their rejections. just because of, well, it's not feasible to send feedback to hundreds of different candidates in the matter of seconds, right? So the way that SkillPool allows for this is, since we know the exact scoring of each candidate, we can essentially tell the main reason that they would have been rejected and the main reason that their score is lower to the average candidate or the best candidate. And based on that, we can draft a personalized rejection message. So I'll show you this in action right now. Let's say if we go back to that same job that I was showing you earlier, and I don't know, let's just pick any candidate here who doesn't have as high a score, and say if you were to reject the candidate. So you can, so obviously you can just directly send them the email here. This email is generated based on templates that you would have decided previously. If you want though, you can also just click on personalize here. It identifies the reason that the candidate skill level is low, or the biggest thing that the candidate skill level is low in, and tries to generate a message or a personalized message to essentially include some feedback within the rejection. Obviously, this is completely optional. This is only if you want to. But if you do, you can essentially do this and then send them a rejection with personalized information. As for communications and outreach, we also have an automatic kind of email system built into this application. So the way that works is you can send candidates any emails as well as receive any emails right here. So so you have a dedicated email address assigned to you, and based on that, you can send candidates email. So let's say if I want to send candidate a email saying that we haven't had an update yet, but we're hoping to get an update soon later. You can load in a template. It automatically fills that up and just send them the email right here. And as and when they reply to this email, as and when they communicate with you further, it'll just show up directly on the candidate screen, which saves you, I mean, quite some time in sorting through your email and trying to figure out which candidate applied to which job and replied to which email. So that's another way that we're trying to help with communication and with outreach to different candidates. So that's about it in terms of, I guess, the main features for this platform. We're currently, since we're pretty new, we're running an introductory offer where if you sign up before 31st July, you get essentially the first month entirely for free. You can sign up, I mean, right here at this link. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have and talk a little bit more about the software. And I can see a few messages in the chat.
Awesome, Sumo. Thank you so much. We're gonna open it up now to any feedback or any direct questions from the audience. Feel free to jump in, folks. If not, I'll of course have too many questions. So I'm gonna hit mute and wait. Okay. It's on me.
Amir, I'll ask a quick question.
Yes, please,
Sunil, what's your intent from a business standpoint? Thinking of it more as a company, like, is your intent to scale this out and go like do the full go after customers and build your own customer base, et cetera? Or are you trying to sell this off, or like where are you hoping to go with this? Just if you have that in your mind, I'm sure you've thought about it.
Scale it, essentially make it like the next biggest ATS to get a customer base, to be able to get this to as many people and as many businesses as possible. So from a business standpoint, that's kind of where it stands.
How have you thought through those steps of how you're going to reach out and get engagement, get trials?
I mean, obviously, there's this. First of all, I'm hoping to get some feedback. I'm hoping to get some initial iterations on how exactly to improve the software. So I intend to do that for a few months, just identifying how I can create this perfectly. And after that's done, just reach out to people individually, identify how it can be best, input into people's current recruitment processes, and identify exactly how SkillPool can, I guess, best help and best be introduced to as many companies as possible.
Just good job overall. It looks really good. It's at a good place already, which is pretty amazing.
I mean, that's great to hear. Thank you so much.
Tell us a little bit about monetization, Sumo.
Sure. So for now, it is free for the first month, but after that, it's going to be essentially a subscription-based pricing. Pretty much what pretty much like a standard pricing for ATS is. I'm keeping it around 500 to 1,000 per month, depending, of course, on company size, company usage. This is a beginning pricing, I guess. This is a beginning price. It's going to be changed. It can be lowered or increased based on how this first month goes and how iterations go. But that's kind of what the monetization looks like for now.
When you say company usage, do you mean like jobs posted or used through it, or do you mean users in the company? Just because those are different for when you think about how you're going to grow and monetize over the long haul.
So I just mean in terms of company size. So for example, a small startup, let's say, is probably not going to pay more than $100 a month or maybe $50 a month. But let's say if like a massive company wants to use it and they're getting tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of applications every single job, then they're going to have to pay more just because, I mean, it's costlier on us to host that as well. So that's kind of what I meant. It's not in terms of users or jobs. It's merely in terms of how big the company is, how many kinds of applications they're getting in.
Are you targeting startups and like mid-size level companies? I'm curious, like, do you have any companies working on the platform today?
So right now we've got around 18 to 20 clients. These are all free clients, obviously, because we're doing the introductory offer right now. I'm not exactly talking startups. It's more of companies which are currently in their growth stage, currently trying to hire as many people as possible, because that's one of the things SkillPool helps with. It helps bring down the time to hire and essentially identify how exactly we can fill these openings and fill the required jobs as fast as possible. So I'm targeting people or companies within that growth stage right now. So yes, small to mid-sized companies growing fast.
Have you thought of also targeting like recruiting agencies, just because it looks like it has a pretty robust like CRM built in? So curious, and that would be like an easy reach out potentially for like agencies.
Agreed, actually. I mean, I'm definitely open to having any recruitment agency using the platform. I haven't personally reached out to any yet, but no, that sounds like a great idea. It makes sense. Yeah.
Sumel, when you think about the future state of this product, right? And I think Mike and I both pointed you to some of the competitors in the space, right? We won't name them, but you're familiar with who's out there. When you think about your product and the moat that you have, right? Because right now you're building this from the ground up, but how do you disrupt the space? Like, how do you win against the current incumbents when you're going to any person in this room today who's already using an ATS, who probably likes it, right? Like maybe they don't love it, but they like it enough to use it, using it. How do you convince that? Like, what are you going to say to that person to convince them, hey, scrap your existing ATS and use this one instead? Or maybe that's not your business model, right? Maybe your business model is going to the earliest of stage companies and adopting them very early on. But kind of curious to hear how you think about it.
I mean, the real thing that we do really differently is just that whole, since we've got AI built into literally every single feature and every single workflow, it allows for a really productive and really efficient workflow throughout the recruitment process. And specifically including the candidates coming in and candidates scoring. No other ATS currently is able to break down those scores and break down exactly why a candidate is scored at any particular area. Just because doing that requires us to create our own AI system. Any current incumbent in the space, even if they are leveraging AI and trying to help it make it faster, the majority of them are doing pretty well actually. But all of these are just giving out scores and giving out, I guess, a certain matching rate without having that kind of explanation and without having a full justification. So if that's something that is particularly important, and if you think that you're getting far too many applicants and that you can go through manually, that you can look at each one of them and every single part of the resume, and if you're looking for some kind of score that you can actually trust, that's where I would say is our specialty, and that's the kind of customers that we're looking for.
Thank you. Folks, usually around this point, we'll flip it around and allow Sumel to ask the community any questions he may have. But before we do that, any last questions for Sumel? Anything that you want to get off your chest, or anything that you have, anything that you're curious about? Okay, great. Well, Sumel, at this point, you can pose any question to the community if you have any, and the community would be happy to answer any questions that you may have, whether it be specific to your product, to road mapping, to pain points that they have, anything that comes.
Great. So I mean, I did mention that, one of the main things that I was hoping to get out of this was just some feedback and some iterations. So I guess this is open to pretty much anybody. What are some of the main things that you need in an ATS before switching to it that you haven't really seen in SkillPool yet? Just, I guess, because it's early, or because I haven't shown it, or any reason like that. Is there some kind of main feature that you look for?
I didn't, so I'd love to see, and maybe you showed it and I missed it, like sort of if I'm running the recruiting function or the team, or I'm the one holding the bag, I want to know, like, just as an overall, how are my jobs performing, like as a dashboard or something that allows me to see my recruiter's productivity or my productivity if I'm a recruiter, and then how does that scale up, just so I can see how the company's performing. Did you have that, or did I miss it, or?
So in terms of, okay, I'll show you the dashboard that we do have. So you have the overall company dashboard here, where, I mean, you can see the data about time to hire, about what kind of jobs have been filled. And then for every single job, you have an individual job dashboard that shows you how the candidates are coming in, what kind of, what stages they're already at, and how exactly they were input into this particular job. Is there any kind of report that you specifically would look for in terms of productivity that, I mean, that we don't have yet?
There's a couple I can think of, but let me just ponder that, just because I'd love, I think in my experience, one of the biggest things usually missing from a business perspective, not an HR or recruiting perspective, is the insight into the predictability of filling jobs, and
Right.
being able to go to your business leader and say, and so if you could think about how you're going to model out, what's the estimated date we think this job will close or something. I'm just brainstorming right now, but when I think about where I've been able to give comfort to business leaders, it's typically in building a model that's predictable for them to know their hiring path and pattern.
Okay, that makes sense. Just in terms of time to hire, I mean, we have something that we have the general average time to hire here that you can see. That's based on, I guess, the average time it took for every single job. But no, I do understand that, having something separate, just, yeah, I get that point. Like, having something that you can predict exactly when a job will be filled and stuff like that makes sense. That's something I'll definitely look into adding.
Just when I think of AI and its power in modeling, is like that'll just get smarter and smarter as it goes.
Right. Yeah.
And we'll start to build more and more predictability, which is what so many business leaders are looking for.
Makes sense.
Something I haven't seen in an ATS is the ability to compare candidates side by side, almost like you would compare products. So being able to pick a candidate, pull them up side by side, see their feedback from each interview stage side by side, whether that was a scorecard and their scoring side by side, or feedback for specific questions side by side. But to be able to do a side by side comparison is not something I have seen before. Is that something that you guys have thought of?
That's actually really interesting. That's not something I had thought of originally, but considering the way that we score, that's something that would actually be relatively easy to implement within SkillPool. That's a pretty nice idea. I'll definitely consider that. Yeah.
Tony, I love that too as you go, because you can do it at different steps of the process even, and sort of
Right,
see
yeah.
like that's
100%. Yeah.
Scoring itself, and for every single interview, you could see exactly how the feedback has been given. Makes sense. Yeah. Note that down actually. All right, I think that's kind of the only question I had. Amir, yeah.
Is there a way to build in alerts? Sorry, now I'm just pondering. Like when I look at your dashboard, I like that it's got a lot of good data in it. There's probably more things I'd want to build out, but I'd have to think about it more. But even I love the idea of when you can start flagging, like for some reason, this job, Usually it's because of an asinine hiring manager who has come up with the purple unicorn they want to try and find. But like when a job starts to get flagged because it's like way out of whack with every other job for how long or what the process is going, or it would be interesting if you could think about that from a perspective of being able to alert either the hiring manager, the recruiter, or the boss, the owner of the company, like this job's out of whack, find out why. And here's some suggestions as to why we think it is, because you'd have the data to see that it's not, they're not interviewing fast enough or their feedback's slow, whatever it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. I haven't added that yet, but that's something that was definitely, I mean, it's already on the roadmap actually, just to be able to look through jobs, identify exactly why each state or exactly how long each state has taken already, and compare to the average and flag it down. Yeah, that's something that that we're gonna do soon.
What about candidate surveys and getting candidate feedback? So I've seen that in several ATSs, and we use that in our Rippling ATS now, a candidate survey after, say, the screening call phase or after a final phase, just on how the candidate felt about the interview process and what feedback they give for us. Have you thought about building in candidate surveys?
Yeah, actually, that feature is rolling out pretty much in a week, where where candidates can directly talk about exactly how every interview had been gone for them, as well as how the application experience was overall. So that's something that it's already been considered and built out right now.
Nice.
Is there a component of SkillPool, or maybe you can speak to the components of SkillPool that become more intelligent as time goes on, right? Because in my mind, that's where things could get really interesting, where if I've been using SkillPool for the course of the last 5 years at the same exact company, I can essentially train your AI models to evaluate candidates or to measure candidates or even to pipeline candidates that have been, kind of assessed by me, or I've given you feedback in terms of what I'm looking for. So basically, high level question, is there a way to train the AI models for my specific company so that as time goes on, it becomes more effective, more efficient, more precise?
So right now, no. Right now, the best way that you can, I guess, customize the AI and get it to the results you want is by setting that ideal candidate profile exactly to the results that you're hoping for. But eventually, we're looking to add some sort of reasoning aspect to the AI, in which it'll be able to understand, okay, we scored this candidate high, but you rejected it anyway. Is there any particular reason for that? And try to identify, okay, we take that into account the next time we're grading candidates, take that into account and base the score on that. So that's definitely, I mean, I understand exactly how important that is, and just to be able to have a software that improves with you and that improves, I guess, as time goes on. That's definitely something we're looking at creating in the future.
Yeah, especially with candidate matching or candidate ranking, right? I think that's so important, because if the system understands, like if it can track a candidate that came in as a cold apply and tracks it through the interviewing process to a hire, and the system understands that Jane Doe came in with 1 year of internship experience from university of whatever, and she ultimately got hired. Ergo, any future candidate that has a similar resume or a similar profile or a similar persona to Jane Doe is automatically flagged as like, hey, this person matches the other type of candidates you've hired in the past. You should take a look at them, or you should take a special look at them. That would be super interesting too, right? Like the ability for the platform to not only understand, current candidates that are coming through, but also past successes and maybe even past failures of candidates that have historically not done well. Oh, we've seen, 8 out of 10 times candidates with an information technology degree have not passed your JavaScript assessment. That would be also really powerful, right? So if I don't know, I'm speaking a language that I don't truly understand, aka tech. But if that was feasible, if that was possible, that to me would be pretty powerful.
From a very technical perspective, honestly speaking, that ranges into like technology that hasn't been created yet. Just because it'll have to keep track of every single candidate as well as every single job, understand context behind all of that. But some level of that and some level of improving over time can definitely be done, as well as just having some sort of context aware or similarity matching, such as when candidates, what you said, that very particular aspect where candidates have which have already been hired before, and if similar candidates come in, then they can be flagged. That can very much be achieved. That's something that's actually pretty interesting. But I guess being able to give and learn from every single candidate and every single action is something that's kind of technically complex. But I mean, eventually looking into the future and looking into creating new AI technologies in-house itself, I definitely hope that that's something that we can achieve.
Awesome. Any last question? The last part of this experience is a new part of this experience where we're going to have our members in real time give us yes, no responses in the chat box to 2 questions. But before we do that, any other final questions for Sunil?
Integrations. What integrations do you have? Are you working on? You know, especially as it ties into like HR management systems and bringing a new hire over. Talk to us about those things.
Working on a direct implementation with Workday, since that's the, I guess, most commonly used HR system management system. But I mean, I'm definitely open to, in case any of the clients have a different HR management system that they'd want that they'd want SkillPool to integrate with. That's definitely something that we can also do, where I mean, we directly implement into whatever system that you're using. But that falls more into services. So I mean, I guess once you've already become a client, you can always just reach out and ask me to develop the implementation. As for which ones we're already working on, that's Workday for now.
All right, folks. So for those of us that are left here, the 2 questions. First one, would you be willing to test SkillPool today against your current ATS with the purpose of potentially replacing your ATS if the demo was successful? Could you please put a yes or a no in the chat box? And we're not going to.
I just want to clarify, absolutely no offense taken. So please be honest.
Yeah.
I would
even some offense, it's okay. That's totally fine too. That's a learning experience. And we're not going to hold you to this. Give it another minute. Okay. All right, the next question, the Shark Tank question. We have to do it. This is what makes it a powerful experience for someone like Sunil and for us. Should Syelo make a capital investment in SkillPool? Please put yes or no in the chat box. The yeses have it. Sunil, thank you so much for the time today. Members, thank you all so much for the time today. This was very awesome, Sunil. You did a fantastic job. Obviously, we'll sync up with you later on this afternoon. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed the presentation from Sunil and SkillPool. I think you'll be seeing a lot more of them soon, but we'll see you all over the coming weeks, and we'll see you on Slack.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Thank you for having me. I mean, it was a great experience presenting today as well.
Thank you.